Underground Reggie.
DJ Rico Banks.
Welcome back to another episode of Underground Reggie, powered by Z101.6 and I'm in media. I'm your host Rico Banks, bring you the latest in music, sports, entertainment, and world news. As always, we have another great show planned for you today. Get ready and turn your systems up. Let's get into the latest news from the past few days. Extreme weather in China killed at least 21 people over the weekend. 21 people were killed when extremely cold weather struck a rugged Gansu province in northwestern China.
An ultramarathon in northwest China became fatal after extreme cold weather struck on Saturday. That's according to state media Xinhua on Sunday, which said 21 people were killed in the rugged Gansu province. The 62-mile race kicked off earlier in the weekend, with nearly 200 runners clad in t-shirts and shorts under overcast skies near a site along the Yellow River. The route would take runners through deep canyons and up to elevations over 3,000 feet. A mountainous section of the race was hit by hail and freezing rain by midday on Saturday. Xinhua reported that over 1,200 rescuers were dispatched, but a landslide following the severe weather hampered their efforts. The deaths sparked outrage on Chinese social media, mainly directed at the regional government over its lack of contingency planning. Several official weather reports predicted strong winds and drops in temperature over the weekend. Officials bowed and apologized on Sunday during the news briefing, taking responsibility for the tragedy.
Cold weather is never fun. Hopefully the conditions lighten and help is available to help the people in that part of the country. In other news, HANSON spoke with Entertainment Tonight recently about their kids, wives, and 30 years of making music. HANSON opened up to ET about their album Against the World. The trio got candid about their home lives, detailing what it's like having 2 newborns in the mix and if they are planning on having more children. Isaac Taylor and Zach also gave praise to their wives as they discussed balancing their music careers with raising families.
How does fatherhood not influence?
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Right?
I think inevitably your experiences definitely get into the way you write songs and your conclusions and these mini stories that we write that we call songs. I think the other thing is it becomes more important, that idea of a little bit, what's the legacy you're leaving? As you know, you're leaving that to your kids and you're talking to your kids through the art you make. And so it just becomes just that much more important that you're kind of speaking from the heart.
But I do agree that you start kind of strongly considering what kind of legacy you're leaving, not just to your fans, not just to the world, but to your kids.
Our kids are starting to get old enough that they're coming out on the road solo, like my son Shepard coming out and hanging out for a couple weeks on the road and going to places and experiencing those things. Now you're doing it as dad, you know, and you have the memory of being the kid. And it flips everything on its head. I think
I'm actually just trying to train a guitar tech so I don't have to paint.
The brothers later teased a possible new collaboration and explained why none of them ever went solo. Rounding out our news segment, home builder stocks sunk recently. Experts think this could be the end for them. Why, you ask?
Trouble ahead, trouble behind. I mean, listen, here's the thing, Mel. I mean, some of the supply demand dynamics have just been totally out of whack. We have no way of looking behind over the last year and really putting that in some sort of context going forward. Then you take into account all the input costs, all the stimulus, you know, the rate move. There's a lot of things going in a lot of different ways. And I just think this is that as the NASDAQ has underperformed this year, we've seen a few groups. We've seen banks. We've seen, home builders, we've seen energy, we've seen materials really outperform of late, and we're starting to lose those groups. So we just lost the home builders that just went up on this parabolic move. You're starting to get bad data. You're starting to see some of these inputs like lumber roll over, and you may say, well, that's a good thing for the home builders, but maybe not when you see the activity kind of scale back this way. So when I think of the other side of this pandemic, a lot of the oddities about the housing market over the last 13 or 14 months, they may go back the other way. So I wouldn't be buying home builders here. I'd also remember that the home builders topped out in like 05, early 06, before the housing bubble really burst here. So this is not a space I want to be in.
Despite a historic shortage of homes for sale, home builders are actually slowing production. They've been handcuffed by skyrocketing commodity prices and shortages of land and labor. Single-family housing starts dropped more than 13% in April compared to March. That's the sharpest decrease since last April, when the pandemic shut down the economy. Prices of new and existing homes are at record levels, and the increases are accelerating at the fastest clip in over 15 years. Nearly half of all builders say they are adding escalation clauses to their sale prices because of rising material costs. This report was released after a recent survey from the National Association of Home Builders. Okay, that rounds out the news. Stay tuned in for more coming up here on Underground Reggie.
Underground Reggie.
This episode of Underground Reggie is brought to you by the IamMen.com. Music, sports, and entertainment news from IamMen Media. Follow the IamMen on Instagram at IamMen.media. Alright, we're back on Underground Reggie, powered by Z101.6 and IamMen Media. I'm your host, Rico Banks. Now let's talk sports. In NBA news, the 2021 playoffs got underway this weekend. The Milwaukee Bucks beat the Miami Heat 109-107, with Chris Middleton hitting the shot to lead the Bucks to victory. The Dallas Mavericks defeated the Los Angeles Clippers after a Luka Doncic triple-double. Also, the Brooklyn Nets beat the Boston Celtics in the Game 1 showdown 104-93, before Portland ended Saturday night's game by beating the Denver Nuggets. In baseball news, the Tampa Bay Rays are currently on a 9-game winning streak. They're currently 1 game behind the AL East leading Boston Red Sox. The San Diego Padres currently hold the best NL record at 29-17, while maintaining an 8-game win streak. In NFL news, Patrick Mahomes is ready to return to the field after turf toe surgery. The Chiefs star quarterback is scheduled to begin off-season practice next week, according to a source to ESPN. Mahomes won't take full snaps next week, but will do some work. Okay, that concludes our sports segment. Stay tuned in for more coming up next here on Underground Reggie.
Underground Reggie.
Alright, we're back on Underground Reggie, powered by Z101.6 and IamMen Media. I'm your host, Rico Banks. Now, I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in today. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at officialiammen, at Rico Fantasy, and at Z101 Dallas. Until next time, peace. Thanks for listening to another episode of Underground
Reggie.
I'm your host, Rico Banks. Make sure you follow the IamMen on Instagram at IamMen.media. We'll be back for another episode soon. Stay tuned.